Turner, who is in Washington, D.C. today at the U.S. Congress of Mayors. So he is apologizing for not being able to be here with you all. He knows how important this event is, which is why it has been centered right here in the front lobby, the rotunda of City Hall. But he does have to also conduct the business of Houston and D.C., and so that is what he's doing right now. I'm also here representing Nicole Irvin, the director of the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, who is under the weather today and could not be here. So she asked me to step in this morning in order to help move our program along. And I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be able to do that. I am a former journalist who got her start in the black press here in Houston, not at the Storied Informer, unfortunately. I wish that had been my history. But I did do several years at our also mainstream newspaper, the Houston Chronicle, for over a decade. And now I have the honor of leading Mayor Turner's Equity Initiative. But one of the things I did want to share with you all briefly so that we can get to Councilmember Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, is that in 1919, Clifton Frederick Richardson Sr. became the founder and first editor and publisher of the Houston Informer, a weekly newspaper owned and operated by the descendant of enslaved people. Mr. Richardson ran his 10-point platform on the editorial page of each issue of the Houston Informer. He consistently and unapologetically advocated for the following: democracy, both domestic and foreign, playgrounds for colored children, better educational facilities, both teachers and physical properties for colored youth, educated and consecrated ministry, development of the Houston Ship Channel, thereby making Houston the South's premier city, cooperation between the white and colored races on all matters of vital importance, and less racial animosity and antagonism, good streets, better drainage, and sanitary toilets for the entire urban population, federal investigation of and federal legislation to suppress lynching, equality before the law for all men, and equal railroad accommodations for all passengers, and finally, racial cooperation, teamwork, advancement, betterment, and solidarity. Mr. Richardson was a visionary. What he described is exactly what Mayor Sylvester Turner has been advocating through his Complete Communities Initiative, which is his equity initiative to address the underserved, under-resourced neighborhoods in our city. Unfortunately, some of the things that Mr. Richardson advocated in that 10-point platform are still things that we're dealing with because of the historic inequities that have led to the present-day disparities in some of our neighborhoods. But Mayor Turner is pleased to work with so many committed stakeholders in our communities, elected officials, and others. We do have here with us today Marilyn Burgess, the Harris County District Clerk, and she is one of those partners. Welcome and thank you. And we also have committed council members from each of the districts that has a complete community, as well as our at-large council members that advocate on a regular basis for the work in the complete communities. And I am very proud to say that I live in the 3rd Ward area that is in the district of destination, District D, led by our council member, Carolyn Evans-Shabazz. Council member.
Thank you, Shannon. The mayor could not have had a better representative in you, and so I am also pleased to be your council member, Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, the council member for District D, what I call the District of Destination. And certainly I have had a long-time relationship with the Butler family, actually, and I want to recognize Lorenza Butler Sr., who's a 93-year-old young man who I have known. I actually worked with him. He was a coach at Fleming Middle School when I was a teacher. And so I have known this family for quite some time, and they lived actually in and out down the street from where I was raised. And so, as you know, the Houston Informer and Texas Freeman newspapers and photographs are valuable sources of information on the history of the African American community in Houston. This photo exhibit celebrates 130 years of Black-owned businesses that are advertised in the newspaper. Here are some of the reasons why it's important to preserve them. And as a sidebar, as a little girl, I used to go to some of the businesses. It was Dowling at the time, but we have progressed to its appropriate name, Emancipation. And I used to go after school with my mom, who was also a teacher. I think the store was Rubenstein's. And so I recall that was a very vivid memory in my mind. But the reason why it's important to preserve them, the Black Newspapers photo exhibit is a unique opportunity to explore the history of African American newspapers in Houston. The exhibit will feature photographs from the Houston Informer and Texas Freeman American newspapers from the early 20th century. I want to acknowledge my council member colleague that came in, Edward Pollard of District J as well. We've been moving around. There was an event over at the Blue Triangle Multi-Service Center, but we want to be here, and I'm so very honored to be. The Stepping Back in Time photo exhibit will run for the next 6 weeks, ending on February the 28th, 2023, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The exhibit will give visitors a glimpse in the lives of African Americans in Houston during this time. It will also highlight the important role of African American newspapers played in the civil rights movement. The exhibit provides a unique insight into the history of African Americans in Houston. By preserving these newspapers and photographs, we can better understand the struggles and successes of the African American community in Houston. The exhibit is a valuable source of information about the culture and tradition of Houston's African American businesses and communities. The exhibit is also a valuable source of the African American struggle through Jim Crow and civil rights in Houston, and how many Black businesses were successful because of the Jim Crow laws. We hope that this exhibit will help educate and inspire visitors about the history of African Americans in Houston. We also hope that it will foster a greater appreciation for the contributions of African Americans in the city. And we are so very grateful for the support of the Houston Informer Foundation's photo exhibit, and your participation will help make this exhibit a reality and ensure that it is accessible to all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. We know you have to get to your next event. Thank you for being here and making time for this event. Next, we're going to have come to our microphone Emmanuel Outspoken Bean. Mayor Turner named Emmanuel Outspoken Bean the City of Houston's 5th Poet Laureate on April 30th, 2021. Outspoken is known as a performance poet, writer, compassionate mentor, and electric entertainer. In 2017, Bean was the Houston Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs Artist in Resident, and he is also a recipient of the 2016 Andy Warhol Foundation's The Idea Fund grant and was named Vice Media's Poet of the People in 2018. I personally know him as a poet mentor, youth development specialist, and youth slam poetry coach from the work he did with the nonprofit I founded, Metaphor Houston, which is now a teen and young adult program of writers in the schools, where Outspoken has worked full-time since 2013. Outspoken, thank you for being here today.
I won't be before you long, but I am very honored to be able to do this poem, because I wrote this poem for you. I wrote this poem for every person in this room. People, we are the extraordinary, living among the ordinary who believe that ties don't tie the same around a white collar or blue. My class is not your homeroom. I am a match. I burn at both ends. I just don't burn for you. We are regular people. All my hair's a number. They carry 10 digits in my pockets. I was given a pair to stare, and I wear them in my sockets. I am a person, not a people. We speak the same language, even when it's not the same language. That's when the universal language of body movement comes in. I use the same 10% of my brain as you do. I wanted to use the other 90, so I consulted a guru. I woke up early in the morning to catch a 7:30 flight, flew halfway around the world, landed in the night, climbed halfway in the mountain, got halfway to the village, and I reached the top, and he said, you are merely a person. You may have been born on different days, but you're created the same way, of the same basis, using the same clay. You are regular people. We are regular people. You are the starving child abandoned in Ethiopia. You are a rich kingdom hoard in a cornucopia. You are people. Well, excuse me, Mr. Shaman. Man, I traveled a long distance to try to find some solutions, and now I found a man with all the answers. You're only adding to my confusion. I don't want to be just one of the people. No, I want to ride the elevator to the top until I have no equal. I want you to see that's where I've been, the top. It's cold, desolate, regrettable, yes, unforgettable. I tug when you tug. As a reminder, the rope strands were once alive. When you're secluded, you die, you are, I am, we are. He is, she is, they are, you are. Free-floating molecules making up a body of a universe. You're the stanza, the mantra, the words, the free verse. Passports take months for you to receive, so you walk. You're a poem in motion. You are, I am, we are. Seeds deeply rooted in the forest of poet trees. Let my limbs reach you. Read my leaves and allow them to teach you. Gather your bones on the way to the summit. Toss them, let them delete, then plummet into the depths of one soul. As you traveled your way on top of the mount, you see, while you were on your way up, I was on my way down. That's how we met at the middle, because you can't figure out the riddle that the way to escape the people is to become the people. So at least speak to the people. You don't have to agree with the people, because have you met them? You know how people be. You show them the truth, but you know how people see. You teach them good morals, but they may still choose impurity. So just choose. What is your choice? Don't worry about your flaws subsequently. We're all equal, and I heard your people can build Babel-like towers. And I heard your people are craftsmen of steeples. Together, our people can build cathedrals one person at a time, because we are all regular people. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from my colleague, who I am super proud to say is Marsha Murray, the director of the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. Marsha Murray, Esquire, was appointed by Mayor Sylvester Turner and confirmed by City Council to serve as the director of the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity in April 2020, after having served as OBO's interim director. As director, Ms. Murray is responsible for leading the city's supplier diversity, workforce development, and inclusion efforts, with a focus on administering programs and initiatives that increase access to economic opportunity for historically underutilized businesses and disenfranchised individuals. Ms. Murray made the decision to co-sponsor this exhibit because of its impact in telling the story of the Black-owned businesses in our city. And it is so appropriate for us to be hearing from her now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today. The celebration of Black-owned businesses holds special meaning for me as a director of the Office of Business Opportunity. Black enterprises has always been an integral pillar in the history of Houston. Let us not forget the pivotal events of the past 130 years that made it necessary for African Americans to build businesses for people of color in our own communities. Their success represents resilience, strength, and solidarity during times of oppression. As we admire their stories and photos in today's exhibit, let us also remember them for every success story, there are also so many more who have struggled and did not see their dreams realized. Even with the business development support available today, there are still so many aspiring entrepreneurs in our city, and especially in our most under-resourced neighborhoods who lack access to the knowledge and tools required to succeed. If we want to celebrate the legacy of Black entrepreneurship in Houston for years to come, we still have so much work to do. At the Office of Business Opportunity, we exist to promote the success of small businesses in our city, with a special emphasis on those that have been historically underutilized. Our vision is to eliminate systemic barriers to prosperity and economic opportunity in the greater Houston region, and we're here to assist individuals who have been historically marginalized. Through the city's supplier diversity program, we have certified over 5,000 small businesses, including those owned by minorities and women. To date, more than 2,100 of these businesses are Black-owned. That number represents more than 42% of Black-owned businesses in the City of Houston's directory of certified firms. This administration wants these businesses to keep growing. Since Mayor Turner has been in office, approximately $840 million have been awarded to Black-owned businesses, with almost $100 million awarded just last year. In the coming years, we fully intend to increase that number. The business owners who we are honoring in today's exhibit truly blazed a trail. They were the heart and soul of their communities, providing safe spaces for their people to receive essential services, to dine, to shop, to work, to play. As we look forward toward the future, let all of us who have a voice and the privilege to shape our city find purpose in helping a new generation of Black entrepreneurs to blaze their own trails. In line with OBO's vision, it is my hope that their businesses will also be recorded in history and in tomorrow's newspapers of how their legacies of entrepreneurship improved their communities, promoted economic growth, built generational wealth, and closed the racial wealth gap. Here's to celebrating the past and the future of Black enterprise. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Anika Wiley, director of the McGregor store, which represents HEB as a title sponsor. And I have to say, that's my HEB. The idea to build an HEB in the greater Third Ward area on wetlands land was a vision that took many, many years to come to fruition. And when we broke ground in February of 2019, there was no expectation that that store would actually be completely finished by the end of the year, except for Mayor Turner and Anika Wiley and the rest of the team at HEB. They pushed hard, made it happen, and then that store was open at the start of the pandemic. And it really has been a marvel and done what we've been asking for in all of the complete communities, for all of our neighborhoods to have the quality amenities that should be commonplace in every Houston neighborhood. And so we know that this HEB is fueling the future in Third Ward and beyond, and we are so happy to have Anika Wiley here today to speak with us.
Well, rain or shine, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Hello, I bring you greetings from HEB. And today, on behalf of HEB, we want to express our sincere gratitude for the work that we are doing to preserve the communities, the African-American communities, and work that we're doing. Thank you so much for everything that you've done to support HEB. Thank you for everything you've done to commend the trailblazers, of Houston, the African-American Trailblazers of Houston. We are so proud to be platinum sponsors for this event, and we thank you and express our sincere gratitude.
I forgot to mention she is also a very good woman of Delta Sigma Theta, my sorority. And now we will be having a video presentation for the Emancipation Corridor Metaverse video presentation. Are we ready to go with that? Because I have been left here by myself on this stage, so just. All right, excellent.
That's just a little tease. If everybody has their cell phones, you can take one of our cards, scan the QR code, and go straight to the Metaverse. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, tell everybody your name and what you do with it. Come on now.
I'm running. I'm Lynn Page, project manager for the Houston Informer Foundation.
And their family has been in the press for the last 50 years.
Yes, my father had a newspaper, my brother still has a paper, and Lorenza has been my childhood friend since we were 16. And it is a pleasure to work with him and this foundation on this historical moment. And it's very moving and touching to learn about a lot of things that my mother, who's here, and my father talked about, and places that they talked about walking up and down Dowling. My mother grew up on McElhenney and Live Oak. And when you go out and you look at the corridor map out there, you'll see all the streets and the beautiful businesses that were here. 200 businesses. There were beauty shops, barber shops. There were hotels. There were auto repair, printing shops. Everything that we have now, but it was on one street, and that was Dowling, which now I'm happy to know that I'm happy to say it's the Emancipation Corridor. So we wanted to bring it back to life in the Metaverse. So when you go to the Metaverse, if you don't know, ask your kids, and they'll show you. You can walk up and down the street and see the businesses and what they looked like back in 1950. It's been a labor of love. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lynn. Now, you should have come up here on this stage with me so I wouldn't be so alone. But now I'm going to ask for Kajana Wiseman, my neighbor, to come on up and also speak. She's giving acknowledgments as part of the Houston Informer Foundation. And Michael Collins as well. I'm sorry, Mikkel.
Hello, everyone. It is with great pleasure that Butler Wiseman and the Houston Informer Foundation Incorporated was able to help bring this about. History, if left unchecked, if left unrecorded, if left untruth, dies in the face of a vacuum. And Houston has had a vacuum for way too long. When Dowling was called East East Harrisburg, there was a movement by City Hall at that time to name it, to change the name of that corridor because it was so very popular. And the Houston Informer was the center of that neighborhood. Franklin Beauty School. There was, when I was a child back in the 50s, that was where we went. That was our downtown because we could actually go to and get services. We could go to restaurants there. And so there's always a wonderful place in our hearts for the entire Emancipation Corridor. And so if you don't do anything, you owe it to yourself to go to the Metaverse and walk down the Emancipation Corridor and check out some of those amazing businesses that were there. That was the hub of our community, and it still is the hub of our community. And if we don't acknowledge it, no one else will. Because as we know, and as we have seen in the past few years, history is easily rewritten by those who don't care.
And I would like to say thank you for the participation of all the sponsors and for you guys being part of the history. This was an excellent process, and it's going to be a long journey, but thank you for all the support. Thank you.
And now we'll have a thank you from publisher Lorenza Butler, head of the chair of the Houston Informer Foundation Board.
Ladies and gentlemen, since 1893, the Houston, the Texas Freeman in 1893, the Houston Informer in 1919, and then merged in 1930 to be the Houston Informer and Texas Freeman newspapers. And then in 1993, the Houston Informer and Texas Freeman newspapers and radio stations. We welcome you here today. And I want to thank all those that have participated in getting ready for this year-long journey. This is only the start, the next 40 days of having this exhibit, a pop-up exhibit at the Rotunda at Houston City Hall, and thanking our mayor, my frat brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, to allow his team, who are also Alphas, to have the exhibit with the Mayor's Office of Business Opportunity and the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. There are a number of sponsors and for second generation companies in the room, third generation families in the room, and fourth generation families in the room. We're all going to take pictures depending on your family picture in the lobby. There's so much that will come, and I hope you follow our website, the HoustonInformerFoundation.org. I want to first have to say, I acknowledge my father, Lorenzo Butler, Sr. Stand up, Coach. He's wearing his Super Bowl ring. Stand up, Dad. Yeah, stand up. Because without his help, I would have never, I was a broadcaster first before I had the opportunity to buy the chain of newspapers. And I want to also thank the next generation, my heir, Mikhail Collins. Now, I see Supermart in the, I have this rare opportunity. Gary, stand up from Supermart. I know we just acknowledged from the two mayor's officers. We want to thank our long client, the Honorable Clerk, Marilyn Burgess. And we have the Honorable Chris Hollins. I think he's running for mayor. And thank you, HEB, because HEB has been a client of the newspapers for the last couple of decades. And I have I forgot anybody that's in the audience? Oh, and of course, the young councilman who, after Chris, will be mayor. Yes. Thank you for coming out to support us.
Now, see, I thought, oh, you got to change it all, don't you? Thank you so much, Carlos. I thought that it wasn't because there was any kind of political ambitions, but it's that Councilmember Pollard and former Clerk Hollins are Morehouse brothers that they're here today, because you know Morehouse men show up everywhere where there's good, okay, see, all this good stuff with Black excellence and economic drive and taking us to the next level as a people. So we are very happy to have all of them present. I also have my colleague here, Mr. Robert Denbo, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, and we're very happy to have him here. I do know that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is on her way. I do think, though, before we get to her remarks, I am going to ask Councilmember Pollard to please come forward and speak. He is one of our biggest advocates for minority and women-owned businesses, and he continually advocates for their participation in city contracts. And so it is most appropriate for him to be able to come and speak a little bit about his advocacy for underrepresented and underutilized businesses in our city. Councilmember Pollard.
Good afternoon to everyone. Director Buggs, thank you for the introduction. To all the sponsors, Clerk Burgess, elected officials, family and friends, good to see you all. Councilmember Edward Pollard, representative of District J, which is Southwest Houston, and I am ecstatic to be here for the HEB Stepping Back in Time exhibit. When you think about stepping back in time, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on where we've been, to be able to learn, and for me as a council member to really understand the importance and the sacrifices that many before me have put forth to have black businesses grow and foster within our great city. And then not just staying back in time, but coming to the present. And what are we doing as a collective during the present to ensure that the sacrifices that they made are now being seen on a higher level, on a bigger platform? And then not just staying there, but ensuring that we're finding ways to look at the future for the next generation. And what the sacrifices before us have done for us, what are the sacrifices that we're making today for tomorrow? And so this gives us a great opportunity to learn, to reflect, to see all of the great work that has been done, but a charge to all of us on what we must do to pay it forward. So I'm ecstatic that it's here at City Hall. Over the next 40 days, we should be able to use our networks to get people to come here and be able to learn themselves. And so thank you all for being here, and I look forward to learning as much as you do. God bless you all.
Yeah, that was that Morehouse man excellence, just going ahead and speaking all that truth on the spur of the moment. Thank you so much, Councilmember Pollard. So we are now going to head to our ribbon cutting where the Congresswoman, not Councilwoman, she has been a Councilwoman though, where Congresswoman Jackson Lee will join us, but we'll go ahead and go to our ribbon cutting outside. And we hope that everybody will join us there and then come back into this room for our reception. I did see that there was barbecue shrimp and grits, so you know you want to come back. So please join us at the ribbon cutting now. Thank you. She's not here yet. Okay, well then we're going to pause before we go to our ribbon cutting. If everybody would like to get a beverage right now, we'll get that all assembled. We have to get Mr. Butler, the two Mr. Butlers over and get everybody assembled, and we'll wait and cut the ribbon as soon as the Congresswoman arrives, okay? Thank you so much.